Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the podcast, Circle of Hope. My name is Valerie Hope. I'm your host. I love having conversations with people that I've met in my life because I want this podcast to be all about how connections that we make can help us grow and thrive. Our guest today is a special guest coming all the way from across the world, my dear friend Alice Kabwe. Alice Tenjiwe Kabwe. I feel like I need to say the whole thing. It's like such an official name. Alice, you and I met. We haven't known each other very long. Maybe 8 months or something.
Mhm.
Can you believe it? It feels like we've known each
I
other
know.
so much longer. Um,
I know.
and we met when we went through the Nonviolent Communication Intensive in Nairobi, Kenya, in the spring of 2024. And I'd love to just talk about the moment.
2025.
25. Okay, so yeah. So it's only been 8 months. See, it feels like it's been at least 2024, but no, it's not. It's only been 8 months. But I want to talk about how we met. I'll tell you my point of view, and then I'd love to hear yours. That's good.
Yes,
But
yes.
first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, thank you. Very excited to be here and just to always a pleasure and lovely time when to connect with you.
Oh,
Lots of loves to
same. Thank you for saying yes. And this is your first official podcast too.
This
So
is my first
woohoo,
podcast.
celebrating some first here. Um, okay, so I remember we were in the nonviolent communication course. I'd flown from Texas all the way to Kenya to take this course because I wanted to have a cultural experience. I wanted to do this, although the course is offered in all different parts of the world. I really wanted the opportunity to go to the African continent, which I never have in my whole life. And this was a great and meaningful opportunity to do so. So we're in this convent that was hosting the course with like 70 people from 20 some odd countries. And we had been in courses and classes and workshops and breakouts and all sorts of things. And I can't remember what point of the 9 day experience we met. Maybe like day two, day three. Do you know?
Yeah, it was in the early stage. I think
Early.
around two-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you may, because we were all in that big old general room, all of us were kind of
Yeah.
debriefing at the end of the day. And I think either you sat next to me or you sat maybe a person or two down from me. And the first thing I noticed about you was like locks. You have locks
Yeah.
just like me. And I was really surprised because here I thought going to all the way to Africa that I would see more people with locks. And that was not the case, at least not in the space that we were
That
in.
room.
And
Mm.
yeah, there were some braids, there were some weaves, there were some natural hair styles, all kinds. But I was like, oh, that's weird. Nobody has locks. And I remember thinking that the first day or two. So the fact that I saw you, I'm like, oh, she has locks like me. That
Yeah.
was the that was what caught my attention. And I think I may have said something to you about locks to start.
I think
But
that was our first conversation,
was
maybe. Yeah.
it?
Something like that.
I'm so shallow. Just like, oh, your hair. But little did I know that just that small moment of connection would lead
Mm.
to you became my Kenya BFF for at least for me you were I had the opportunity to experience and do so many things during that 9 day experience because of you. You introduced me to foods and art and
Oh,
nature
thank you.
and like, oh my gosh, there were so many things. I'm so thankful, Alice, to have met you. Not just because I got to do all this stuff, but we had some amazing conversations. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how did that all happen after such a kind of a
Yeah.
superficial, if you will, connection? So that's why I'm so
Yeah.
excited to have you on the podcast today. Because I was like, we got to talk about this. This was special to me.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's interesting to think about like the way you've laid it out, like, yeah, the way we met and how we just maintained and grown. And also I felt like I connected very quickly with you. Um, I think I had noticed you I think I noticed you like in the space.
Hmm.
And I think also it was the hair, and I was just like, oh, she looks cool. She's got similar hair. Locks are cool. Um, and I think there was something like light about you, like
Mm.
and I'm not saying everything was it was also in the early days, but it's also like intense conversations,
Yeah.
really like emotional. It's just like very heavy. And um I think there were things that you were saying that were quite like light and playful that
Mm.
I was hearing you say anyway.
Yeah.
Um and so I was like, oh, this is a interesting, just it kind of felt like a bit of a different energy. And then yeah, and then I think we were sitting next to each other. I don't know if we were paired, we ended up in a pair or in a group um in that early space. But I do remember, I think you said something about Locs first, and then
Hmm.
yeah, and then we started talking, I guess. I don't even know if we started talking about the US because I have a US history as well, or I don't remember what the initial early conversations were, but I do remember feeling a like playful light um
Yeah.
energy with you. And then also like, like you were sharing, we ended up um it was also beautiful to be able for me to open up and explore and share these other things that I was battling with, and felt a bit like, oh, I can, play around with Val with these different techniques that I was learning so much about
Yeah.
and how to connect with myself. So it really was a nice um, connection for me as well, because I was in a place where
Mm.
I was really wanting to deepen how to connect to my inner knowing
Yeah.
um, and while the NVC course helps also in all of that information that we were learning was really helpful, it was also really nice to practice some of like you show me some techniques that
Hmm.
that I could do, and to like have that practice as well was
Yeah.
yeah, like really valuable. And I still hold on to that. And just like I don't know, I just like that that even with our group coaching, there's like we can get really deep and we can talk about really heavy
Yeah.
emotional things, but at the same time there's a lightness that's just like, and
Hmm.
it's also fun, and we can laugh about,
Yeah.
like have like deep belly laughs.
Are you
um
saying we're connecting to joy?
One might say,
I might say connecting to joy. Ah,
so yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
That's so good. Yeah, so first of all, the this is it sounds so cheesy to say, but I think there's just a kinship because we have some maybe some traits that are very similar, right? I think there was an energy about you too. I didn't know that you had studied in the US, but I felt very American in Kenya more than I ever have in my life. Ironically, I think in the US,
yeah,
I'm an immigrant to the US. I've lived here for most of my life, but I'm Panamanian and I feel like, having traveled so much, I have a bit of an international flair, at least that I
yeah,
embody, I feel. Um, and I think I can dance in the immigrant world and in the American world very easily when I'm here. But there was something about being in Kenya that made me feel very
Interesting.
American, how I dressed, how I spoke, my outlook and philosophy about a lot of things. And I think having, especially the first couple of days, felt that. And there were four other Americans, by the way, in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
70 member group. But in our conversation, I was kind of like, okay, she gets my humor. She gets my, I felt like you got, not that everybody didn't, but there was something that was easy about
yeah,
connecting with you that I was
yeah,
like, oh, okay,
same.
she's cool. Okay. Oh, of course you studied in the States. And I was like, oh, Harvard. Okay. Harvard. So, uh, I'm not just saying the word. You actually
Yes,
studied.
yes, I did actually.
It wasn't
I
my
also liked,
trying to be pretentious.
yes, it is true. Um, I also really, I think what I value as well of like it's this thing of just not taking ourselves so seriously.
Yeah.
And I think I can't remember, we started these kind of other WhatsApp chats and ended up with like there's there's in learning to practice nonviolent
Mhm.
communication and learning to um, use, well, just learning to like feel comfortable playing around with language and talking about needs and talking about feelings. And I think there can be it's easy to fall into like scripts around that
Yeah.
don't feel very natural. And so I felt like, and I still feel like with you, I can like make fun of that
Hmm.
without it being without it being like offensive, but we can like
Sure.
make fun of some of these scripts in a way that's yeah,
Yeah.
that's just also like light and playful and
Are you saying that you're celebrating the fact that our connection,
it's not serious.
our connection is light and playful? I'm celebrating that, and I'm mourning the fact that it's
Exactly. I'm mourning that I wasn't able to join you exactly at the top of the hour and oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are some kind of I wouldn't say formulaic, that's not the intention, but the course, the nonviolent communication course really dove into how we can better connect with our feelings and our needs in language, right? How we can share those. Uh, and they're all different levels. You had just been introduced to nonviolent communication.
Yeah, this was new
I've
for
been
me.
experiencing, I had experience with it over several years. And so that's, I think, where you're talking about the ability to practice and to connect and not take it so seriously or like be by the book. But beyond the class, we talked, and I would just start coaching you about. I
I
don't
know,
know.
it was awesome. I
I
loved
don't
it
know
because I was
why.
really like in a space of openness. And
Yeah, you were.
I don't know if you were
You are.
intentionally, because I also really felt like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all this like free coaching and all this free information. And
Uh,
yeah, and then it was also nice. You were living in the convent space and I was commuting in and out. Um, which was, I mean, I don't know, I guess there are pros and cons. I'm curious your experience of kind of being
hmm,
residential, whereas I was coming in and out,
yeah.
which um, I also enjoyed having a bit of an outlet. But I really enjoyed like we went to Karura Forest, which is a beautiful park in
Yeah, the
Nairobi,
forest. Hmm.
and just walking around and yeah, and talking. And I think I'm not always as so this is actually interesting in the context of just like connection and how you meet people and how you grow with them. And I don't I I don't think in the past I'm that quick to open
Hmm.
to be like vulnerable and to share
Yeah.
what I'm struggling with or what's going on with me. And I don't know if it's all the context of how we met in within this kind of space where people
Hmm.
are coming together who, are open to empathy in a way. Um, but I think looking back on myself, it was a very quick, like
Yeah.
open sharing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I was getting all this like wonderful free coaching. And you were just happy that I was like, we're going places. And I was like, this is easy.
Easy.
Yeah,
Well,
let's
you
go to
should
the
know,
park.
yeah, the free coaching, as you call it, is just Valerie being Valerie. That sometimes my family really loves, embraces, and sometimes they're like, "Are you coaching? Can you
Right now.
stop, please? Like, stop asking so many
Can
questions
we just hang
or
out?
whatever." So
Yeah.
it doesn't. It's not always a thing to do, but I do find myself kind
Yeah.
of instinctually doing it. Um, but you mentioned this whole idea of how what it was like for you being a commuter to this course and me being residential. And I think had it not been for you and the easy connection that we made, not only in the course but also just personally, that I wouldn't have seen half of what I saw in Kenya. So I'm so grateful. And I think is kind of goes to show that these moments where we might be in environments where there are a lot of people, it only takes one. And it only takes a
Yeah.
few opportunities. It's not like you and I went in there like planning, okay, here's how we're gonna,
Yeah.
socialize and we just kind of grabbed our moments when we could. We both
It's
had
true.
a different schedule, daily schedule, right? Because some of the more there are all these different topics that you could choose from the breakout
Yeah.
rooms. So we would have maybe I think lunch, maybe lunch to have
Yeah.
or breakfast perhaps at some points. But what I think the most important piece here is that we both had the opportunity to connect in a kind of a light, superficial way, and noting the energy, noting the willingness,
Yeah.
noting the interest, began very quickly to find other opportunities to connect. And I was grateful. I think the first thing was just like, I need to go to a supermarket and get something. And you're like, oh yeah, we can go
Oh
afterwards.
yeah, there's one right
We,
here. Yeah.
so I was my first experience going to a Kenyan supermarket and seeing some of the differences there. Asking like, what's a good snack? Like, what's a good snack here? So you were kind of my host, so to speak, while, in the outer, beyond the walls of this convent that we were having the course in. But I also appreciated you so much. And I'm wearing a testament to our to
Our
our shopping.
adventures.
Sorry?
Yeah. To
What
one
is
of our adventures.
adventures? Yes, one of our adventures. And that was when we went to this market, and I saw a place. I was like, I'd love to have some kind of Kenyan African fashion. And there was a place that put this together for me. And I mean, there's a long story behind it, and we're not going to
It's
go into
true.
all
There
that. It's a lot
was
of just
lots of
little drama.
iterations,
And, yes, this
which
was
was
at
also
the
part of the adventure.
it was
Yes.
part of it, but I also learned something really valuable. One is having you there as a communicator of culture, so to speak. Everybody spoke English, but for you to say, look, this is not this. This is typical, this is not typical. For you to have given me that kind of you were my cultural translator, so to speak, there, that made things so much more pleasant and easier. I felt where I could assert myself, where I needed to, like, okay, maybe Alice, you talk him, talk to him. What else did you organized a safari outing for a group of us that you didn't even attend, which I thought that was fascinating because your brain and how your brain works and putting things together and making problem solving and project management, and all of this while you were staying with a friend away from your husband and your children for 9 days. You were like on vacation, and somehow you were now hosting an American exchange student and a group of other African students in a safari. So let's just, beyond the catching up and all the lovely, thoughtful things that you did for us, what was it that inspired you to be such a supporter, such a helper, and a translator of culture? Like, what prompted or motivated you?
Gosh. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if it's healthy or not,
Hmm.
actually. So I think there's an aspect of it that is like um I think there's one part of I don't know. I explore different things around this recently. I've been exploring it, and I think one aspect is like um I like this desire to contribute or to like there's a part of me that's very much like I love to contribute, I love to problem solve. Um and I think there's another part that's like, like I like there's sometimes where I'm in the grocery store and I'm like, I'm in the shorter line. I'm like, I've looked at all the lines and I'm like, oh, okay, I think this is the best line for me to be in for efficiency. And I see somebody else maybe go in like a long line. And there honestly is a part of me that's like wants to tell that person, oh, that's that's not the best line for you. But then that kind of crosses the line of like, well, one, nobody's asked you, Alice. Two,
Hmm.
it's really none of your business. You don't know what their agenda is. And so there's this
Hmm.
interesting, like, why do I part of me that like
Yeah.
feels I need to be, you know, like in this, I need to
Yeah.
solve this problem. That's not even a problem. Um, like nobody said it's a problem. That person is very happy chilling in that line. Um, and so, and I don't, but I do notice that I have that this feeling comes up to want
Interesting.
to, to want to. And so I don't know if this is like a codependency thing of like wanting to
Mm.
feel needed or wanting to like, if I am contributing or participate or showing something, then um I'm wanted or needed, you know. So
Yeah.
I feel like there's a spectrum of all of these where I play, and um
Ooh.
I'm getting more comfortable with like the the things that feed me more, you know, as
Yeah.
opposed to it being more one directional, like I'm
Hmm.
trying to tell somebody what to do when nobody
Yeah.
really is interested in that anyway, and I don't need to. Um,
So just to
yeah,
make sure I'm following you. So you're noticing in yourself that there's this instinct to always want to solve a problem or some disadvantage or something that you see that could be better, like an efficiency measure or something. Is that what you're
yeah,
like? You have this instinct
yeah,
to do something about it, whether or not you're invited to, whether or not it's
yeah,
just it's a thing that you are compelled to do.
yeah. And part of that is also I notice like, well, you know, so it's also me thinking now I can like pause and be like, well, why do I think that I have anything of value to contribute? So I'm
Yeah.
also like not taking myself as seriously as much anymore. And
Mm,
I'm allowing more space, you know, to like
yeah.
between that, like, oh, I've observed something here that I might have some ideas around. Many people might have.
Yeah. Mm,
And um, you know, happy to like support in it.
mhm,
And so with the like with the safari, for example, I think, and then also for me, I think once I get into something, I want to like see it through. So that's why we're
mm.
up at like 10 o'clock or 11. I don't even know what time it was. We're like trying to sort out these like
Yeah.
international
Okay,
payments
it's
or
Kenyan
visa
shillings and
requirements.
then Nigerian or whatever.
We need cash, we need
Doing.
M-Pesa, we need um so then because so then it's also this other part of me be
Yeah,
like once I get in it, I'm like, all right,
you gotta
you know,
finish it.
let's make this happen.
Right.
And I because I'm also excited about the like the process and the you know the
Yeah.
like okay we got somewhere with what we're
The
working on.
accomplishment. Hmm.
Yeah, the accomplishment side of it is really fun. And I also love I really do find joy in like problem solving and just trying to play around and figure out things and um so always happy to be invited into that play space. Is it was it strange for like is
No.
that
Oh
like
my
not
gosh, it was
normal
so
for you
helpful.
watching that? Was it like no
No,
outside of it being helpful, was it like why is this woman still here? She's not even coming
no.
on this trip.
Not at all. I think, our consciousness, and it was all women in this particular group that was trying to get together. We weren't actually supposed to, we planned to skip a whole
It's
morning
true.
session to do this thing, which was not in the design of the
It's true.
program. But we're like, bump that. We've been here long enough. Let's go. But
We're going.
I think if nothing else, it was a relief, really, because there are a lot of different personalities that were put together to do this that had an interest
Yeah.
in going on this safari experience, and the information was spotty at best of what and how to do it. And I don't think anybody in that group was from Kenya.
Yeah, you're
No,
right.
yeah, it's from
Nobody.
like
Yeah.
Nigeria and
South
Morocco.
Africa.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we were like from everywhere else, but and so I think you understood the system well enough and it helped us figure out things that we were trying to interpret. That was super helpful. But I want to go back to this thing that you were talking about, like this the need that you're compelled to share or help or problem solve. Because I think I've seen that in myself too. And you're talking about coaching and getting all this free coaching, whatever. It's a bit of a. I'm also compelled to do it. I think I was
Mm.
working on the book that I'm working on related to this building a circle of hope and all of the circle of influencers. I went back to this moment when I was very young and was with my parents and my parents, my older brother, and my two younger brothers. My two younger brothers were small, maybe a year and a half. They're twins, but we were crossing the street, and my parents were each had a twin in their arms, and then my older brother, and I were crossing on our own, and this like four-lane street, four-lane
Oh wow.
highway. A bus was coming that we were supposed to get on the bus on the opposite side of the street, and it was like rush, rush, rush across the street. And I slipped and fell in the middle of the street. And it's like a traumatic moment. I thought I was gonna die because the cars were coming, and in that moment, it was a split second. This is how I remember it. I was maybe, I don't know, 5 years old, maybe six. And as I remember it, my older brother was a few steps ahead of me, and he was like, "Valerie, come on, let's go." And I may have yelled or said something to my parents, but they had the other kids and trying to rush to get to the bus, and they were like, "Come on, get up." And so in that moment, it was a split second, but in that moment, I think was the time where I made the decision that I'm gonna have to save myself. Like I will only have myself to rely on to save myself or to rescue myself. Which has made me an incredibly autonomous and independent person, which is why I could go
Interesting.
to Kenya to take a
Yeah, all the
class
way to Kenya.
by myself without knowing a soul there. And I've done so many other things since. But on the flip side, I think part of this compulsion, I don't call that compulsion because that sounds so negative, but this instinct that I have to help save people or problem solve or fix or rescue people sometimes shows up when it's like maybe they're like that little girl that just wish somebody would have said, "Hey, come on, get my hand. Let's
I
walk
got you.
across the street with you." Right? I got you. Let's do this together. And so that's, I think, a way, some kind of redemption for those individuals who were not able to. And look, I've done enough therapy and work and stuff. I know my parents were not at fault. My brother was not at fault, which
Yeah,
for many
yeah,
years I
yeah,
thought they were. But I've
yeah,
healed that.
yeah,
We have lovely and wonderful relationships. I'm so grateful, but I'm also stretching myself now more to notice, like you, yeah, I don't have to rescue everybody. Not everybody wants it,
yeah.
needs it, and it's exhausting. And
And that
hello,
piece too.
you can do it yourself. Why? You're just choosing not to. So let me just hold on to my peace, right? So I'm noticing that. So I'm so interested that you brought that up and reflection about yourself. So what
Yeah.
are you noticing, or how are you deciding and choosing when and where to use that superpower? I'm gonna call it, that's a superpower that we have.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I think
What do you like?
that's a help. I like seeing it as a superpower. I think I've been
Mm,
seeing it more as like a negative thing. But also,
really?
nothing is ever like positive and negative. It's just
Yeah.
it is what it is. I think if I think back to, I don't know if I have like a core childhood memory, but I think the four of us, my family and I, claim middle child syndrome and all of its entirety. I
I'm
love
the
that.
middle child
My
too.
family knows that. I'm like, I'm the middle child and I love to flaunt it for everybody. Um, because so I'm from Zambia, but lived for many years in Kenya. Um, but so growing up, like there's the oldest is a girl, then my brother, and then me, and then my younger sister. So the three girls, one boy. And we, had immigrated to the US when I was about 10, 11. But whenever we'd go back home, everyone always remembers the firstborn because you're the firstborn, and everyone remembers
Mm.
the boy, and everyone remembers the baby. And so I was always like that, oh, which one are you? Oh, there was another one somewhere in the mix. And so
Oh,
I like to still give everyone a hard time about that. And I think in my family, I was um, I think so I think part of it is also just like wanting to be seen. And so
mm.
it was like, in a part, I also was a bit of like, would just kind of kept things light a bit and like humor, always bringing kind of
Yeah.
humor in. But also, I think it was like, well, I don't know. I think I just felt like I had to be doing things because otherwise I wasn't
Interesting.
really, otherwise I wasn't, I think, seen or
Stood
around
out, or
or
yeah.
heard. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So those are some early things that I think maybe where where it initially
Well,
comes from for me.
that's so interesting. I have three brothers. I'm the only girl. So I stood out in that
Ah,
perspective, but I'm also the middle child because I have an older brother and then my two younger brothers were twins. So my
oh, the
joke,
twins.
the
That's
axe that
true.
I like to grind sometimes when it's convenient, I'm just like, oh my gosh, you had the firstborn and he had all the pictures. Oh, he's the firstborn. Oh, a whole album and a half devoted to him. I get the other half. And then the twins get three albums because, oh my gosh, double the pleasure, double the fun. They're eating ice cream. Oh, they're dressed alike. Oh my gosh, they're twins, right? And that middle child I had half an album of my brother's second album, kind of thing. Um, But I do think I had my own
Yeah,
space and place in the family, but I do find that
same.
drive to just take care of things on my own. And, my parents
Yeah,
really relied on me a lot for that.
yeah,
Which I think also kind of, oh, this is a good thing. Oh,
yeah,
I need to do it like this. Okay. How
yeah,
did your
yeah.
family react to your way of being?
Yeah, I think it was I mean, we've had lots of like crazy things in my family recently. I remember we had a birthday birthday celebration with my for my birthday. It was last 2 years ago almost. And we were sitting at the table and my dad was sharing like, yeah, he was like, "Oh, I don't know how we would have stayed so connected without Alice." And this is
Mm,
this was like a couple of years ago. And so I think that um it has I don't think I think that only now maybe has it come up when we kind of talk about it, and we more like also in like joking ways. Um, but in the moment, I think I don't recall any like conscious like awareness or talking
mm,
about it. But like when we're
yeah.
sitting together now with my sisters as well and my brother, and we're just like reflecting, it's a bit of like a yeah, you've been kind of the one to kind of keep us together and
Yeah.
to just like follow up on things and keep things moving.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Do you
So,
get
but I
you
like it. I like the superpower.
you like the
Mhm.
superpower? Yeah, it is a
I like the
superpower.
superpower framing. Mm.
It
But what's nice
absolutely
about it,
is.
as seeing it as a superpower, what's also nice is this idea of where I'm getting more and more practice in now is choosing when to unleash the power.
Yes. Yes. And I think that is, that's the benefit of being self-aware, right? We have to own the superpower, know that it's there. It's something that from a very young age, we develop this ability or the capability to do this with ease. It's so natural and it's instinctive. We
Yeah,
do it well. We're very effective, right? You were able to put things together in ways that many of us in that group had just been struggling with. And you were like, okay, I see this very clearly. And then I think the other piece is that um, if it's not a choice to exercise our superpower, then it can become our kryptonite, right? If
yes,
it's just like, I can't, I have to do this. Oh my gosh, this group is, I need to
yes,
make this happen. I need to help. I need to follow through. I need to do all this stuff. It can be very exhausting. That's when I think it becomes a kryptonite. If my compulsion is then to fix and solve and let me spend another extra hour with this person, this stranger that needs this coaching
yeah,
or whatever,
yeah,
then that's
yeah.
where it becomes draining. So I'm being much more conscious, and part of it is just aging. I just know myself better and I don't have the same level of energy that I have had in other times. So I'm much more selective about where I use and express that energy. How are you choosing? Like, what have you noticed that's helping you choose when and where to turn this on and off?
That's a good question. I think I'm maybe part of getting older and part of also just like healing from traumatic, like just like toxic
Mm,
environments and toxic relationships is um well, one thing is I'm learning to create space, and
mm,
this is also just like in practicing empathy. It's like um learning to and I think for me this has helped with like my meditation practice is actually like where I have like a physical I can feel a physical
yeah,
space between my physical Alice and like
yeah,
my other Alice or my energy Alice that
yeah.
and and um and it's beautiful and it's like I like
Mm,
actually feel it. And
mm,
so I think that grounding has is helps me to practice like, you know,
yeah,
Valerie's in her, you have your bubble, I can have my bubble, and I can um hear you and engage with you and connect with you. Um and you still have your bubble with lots of other things in your bubble, and your things don't have to come into my bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if that makes any sense, but
I
this
don't
like
think so. No,
being
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We
just
got
like
bubbles.
being
We got
able
small
to
bubbles. We got medium-sized bubbles. No, no, I'm just going. I'm kidding. I'm
bubbles
kidding.
everywhere,
No, but
but
I
like
what
to
I'm
be able
hearing
to have this space
this space. What I'm hearing is that
and
there's
that
a bit more
time. Yeah.
separation and time that you're able to then be more mindful about what crosses over and when it crosses over and do so
Yes.
with choice. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And also like um I think learning to share where it's actually needed or where I'm, like simply you were saying like, well, you can actually do that on your own. Like, am
Mm-hmm.
I actually adding any value here?
Mm.
And just I think also just like pausing, just like let's
Pause.
just take a
Yes.
beat. And even if that's just a breath and not be like quick to like, oh, I have the solution. Just
Exactly.
like just take a breath, see what
Yeah.
else comes up and and yeah. And I think also holding the superpower with a bit of with like pride, right? Like
Yeah.
um it's almost like I don't know, maybe that's I don't know, I don't know if it's mean to say, but just like, are you worthy of my offering? I think
Yeah.
this is it. Yeah, I think there's also me learning
Yeah.
to appreciate and value my energy and
Mm-hmm.
where I invest.
Yeah.
And I want to invest in spaces or environments where, and honestly, even if the other party doesn't necessarily see any value, I it's feeding me in some way of
Mm-hmm.
contribution. Um, and so I think I've been the last couple of years has been an intentional also like wanting, even like when exploring, what work I want to go into, I want it to be because I know that when I do commit, like I want to follow through with this until you guys are,
Yeah.
on that safari. Um, I know that I want to like invest fully all of
Yeah.
me. And so, and learning, like you're saying, I can't do this all the time. And so I want to
Yeah.
choose where um, I think it's most thriving for myself and maybe
Yeah.
for the others. I don't know.
There's a return on the
What about you?
investment for you and for the other person.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is interesting because I'm wondering what's it like then for you when people don't welcome or accept or I don't want to say they don't benefit from it, but when they don't welcome, accept, or maybe even appreciate your investment.
Yeah, I think recently it's been funny. Recently, like when we had our coaching call the other day. So recently I've been learning to like I just don't take myself this seriously.
Okay.
So which has one given I feel like has given me a sense of freedom to kind of say
Mm-hmm.
what I want to say, say what I want to say when I want to say it a bit more
Uh-huh.
unfiltered. Um, because there's less of a, oh my gosh, I'm really worried about what you're going to say or what you're going to think. And I've really
Mm.
thought through this process already and really feel like this is the best solution and best strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've taken like time and energy to think about what I want to share as opposed to like, oh, da da da, whatever just kind of comes up,
Comes
take
up.
it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
I also have in a way less attachment to
Mm.
to 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 what I'm sharing or offering. That doesn't mean I don't value what I'm sharing or offering or supporting with. Um,
Yeah.
I think it just means I'm just holding it in a much lighter
Yeah.
um, base because I think in the past I have struggled with um, feeling like unappreciated, undervalued,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like this might have been something we were working with when I was starting to explore jobs and just I don't know if it's something you said around just like it can be I can it like a relationship with an employer it can be a not a good fit for both
Mm-hmm.
parties, right? For
Mm-hmm.
me and for them, and that doesn't have to mean anything more than that. It doesn't have to mean that I
Yeah.
am, not professional, I'm not,
Yeah.
qualified, I'm not, it could just be like there's just not a good fit for many reasons, and that doesn't have
Yeah.
to mean anything on my personality. Um, so yeah, I think I'm
Okay.
just like learning
Yeah.
to
Hold it a little bit
And
lighter.
it, yeah, yeah, and it feels freeing and not
Mm,
not reliant on a response
yeah.
of, positivity or acceptance, because
Yeah.
I'm not doing this for acceptance. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I
And
totally get that. Yeah, it's not a you're not looking for validation necessarily
there
from
we
the
go. I'm
other
not looking for
person.
validation. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like
Mhm.
feeling more and more whole in myself and
With
in what
yourself.
I offer and what I can
Mm,
bring.
yeah.
And it's okay if it
You're
doesn't
not ready
align
for
with you right
this.
now. That's okay.
Yeah, you're not ready for this jelly.
You ain't ready. You ain't ready.
You're ready for
And
this
that's
jelly.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting to put it that way. This idea of you already know that what you have is very powerful, is very effective. You have, you've proven it to yourself and to others for many years, I'd imagine, right? And so now it's almost like, yeah, there's a high level of self-worth connected to that element of your superpower. And and because of the high level of self-worth, when it's offered as a gift to someone that doesn't is not ready to accept the gift or doesn't want the gift or doesn't know what to do with the gift or whatever that is, it's not a reflection on the worth. It's just
Mhm,
like, oh,
mhm,
okay, yeah, this you got it. This is not where you are at right now. This is not what you need right now. There are other places and ways in which you can get the support or the guidance or whatever it is you offer.
mhm,
That's kind of what I'm hearing and what you're saying.
mm. Yeah, man, if I was gonna say my 15-year-old self, but even my 35-year-old self
Uh-huh.
had this like sense of self-worth and like
Yeah.
acceptance. Gosh,
Yeah. You
anyway,
weren't
it's
ready
never
for
too
that
late.
jelly right then.
I
It
wasn't ready
wasn't
either.
time. It wasn't time. You
It
didn't know how
wasn't the
to
time.
wield all this power. And I think that's true for so many of us. So many of us that we just you know, don't always know what to do with this gift and strength that we have. Especially if it's not atypical. Everybody has done it, everybody has seen it, everybody benefits. There's some elements that we judge internally, I think, about sometimes our strength and offered it. Like you said, if you're doing it with an attachment, like I hope they appreciate how much this means, or I hope they really want to use this, and I hope that, right? Well, we have all this stuff, all this junk added to it. First of all, it's a turnoff for somebody. I would imagine for people to feel like all this they get it. If it was a tangible thing, your gift would be like sticky, right? If you were offering your is it project management? What would you let's name it. What is
Yeah,
exactly
like
the thing that you say is the gift that you offer?
my superpower.
Yeah.
Maybe like, yeah, systems thinking, getting things done. Like,
Perfect. Systems, process thinking, all this, right? So if it was a tangible product or thing, and you were giving it with all the attachment, it would be like sticky in the other person's hands. Like, oh, okay, well, so it's not really for me. It's like, okay, here, this is how you use it. Hold it like this.
yes, just like
Support
this.
it. This, so it would have all these strings attached, right? Or the stickiness to it.
Yeah.
But where you can say, hey, here's something that I use, or here's something that I know, or here's something that I do. Would you like it? Check it out. And some people are like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is amazing. Yes, let's go. And other people are like, nah, no thanks. And you're like, all right, take my ball, go home, and be fine. So I think that's the relationship that with our superpowers that's a lot more. Uh, it could work better, right? And for me, it would feel so much healthier and less draining. I notice if I'm feeling drained or resentful in any way. Okay, that's my
Mhm.
stuff. I need to take a look and see like what am I dealing with over here? If I'm feeling
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, this person is just taking so much out of me, or this is the fourth time that I've said or that I've done or that I've and nobody and somebody and this, right? When I started to
Yeah.
notice that kind of self-talk or those emotional responses, I realized that either, okay, that's end, stop, pause, take a look at where I am, and or yeah, no, that's not where you want to, I don't want to participate anymore, or I don't want to offer in that way. It's not working for me, you know?
Yeah. There's
Interesting.
something so, so much of like, I don't know how to say it, but there's something so connected to connecting with others that really is about, or that starts within yourself, so
Mm,
like being able to or be aware or notice your voice in your head or just like your feelings. And so like being able to kind of check in with yourself first
yeah,
and almost deal with this first, that
yeah.
allows you to be, you know, maybe more free and
Mhm.
to connect with others in other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's much easier, much more fulfilling. I think we're
More
able to
fulfilling.
read
Yeah.
the room better, to know when to step in, when to lean back. Like all of these things, I think become much more evident. So yeah, I'm always grateful for self-awareness. I think that's and I work with people, and you referenced the coaching group. So you're part
Group.
of the OMG, Own, Master, and
OMG.
Give inner circle, which was a little experiment that I started doing this year because there are things I wanted to give, right? This talking about contribution. You were saying about your willingness and your need to contribute to make a difference. And this was one of the places where it showed up for me that I wanted to do something. But then I became that's like putting that superpower spin to it, and being selective about where to use it. One of the things that I
Yeah.
had never thought of in the past, and I've done a couple of other coaching programs like this, like especially early on when I started my business. But this was the first time that I was like, who would I really enjoy working with? Who do I
Oh,
think would
cool.
really appreciate and enjoy the experience that I can create? I
Oh,
handpicked you all. I know it sounds, yeah, it sounds like I'm trying to be all like exclusive, but it was because I knew the kind of environment that I wanted to contribute into was going to be, I needed to make sure that was in alignment with where I am and my energy, where how I wanted to use these gifts and these superpowers. And I didn't want to have anybody question or to challenge or yeah, but, or any of those things. Not to, that sounds a little bit like I wasn't looking for automatons. Yes, Valerie, whatever you say. It
whatever you
wasn't that.
say.
No, but I knew that in order for me to fully express myself in the way that I wanted and needed, I was going to be very selective about who I invited to participate. And I knew, like, oh, yeah, Alice, easy. You and I have had many of these conversations. You're good. You get me. I get you. Cool. And the same for all the other members of that group. So that was a for the first time, I think, in my career, to have hand selected a group to do something like that, because I knew that the superpower, it would be reciprocal. In other words, that I knew that what I could give and what I would receive would be something that benefit everybody, not just the two of us or the group, but each
Yeah.
other. I knew
Yeah.
collectively, like, oh yeah, this is a group that I
It's
know
true.
could support each other also. Is
Yeah.
that true? Was it true? Or is it true?
Is it? We're still in it so
We're
far.
still in it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
far we're still in it. So far it does feel very equal. Like it doesn't feel like, I mean, you are facilitating the space, but you're also kind of in it with us, and it feels very yeah, it feels really easy. And
Yeah.
like from jump, everyone felt very comfortable, and we shared so many things, even in our smaller groups and then together. So in that sense, it's been nice to, I don't know how many total sessions we have, like 8 or so, but to
Mhm.
like, you kind of like go deep quick,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
considering this is not infinite.
Yeah.
I think that was helpful. That has been helpful
Hmm.
for everyone to kind of feel that level of safety to be vulnerable.
Mm,
Yeah, and that's where all the magic happens.
that's magic. I want to shift gears a little bit here and think about your build. One of the things that you and I talked a lot about when we were in Kenya was also your building community professionally, building community with people that have the similar passion that you have, like really being intentional about who you surround yourself with. And so give us a taste of a bit of how you've evolved over the last few months or so in building that space, either professionally or socially, a community, any of that.
Yeah, I think, and this is why it was like such great timing to to meet you and receive your superpower. Um, because I think I was stepping into a phase of wanting to be more intentional about where I give my energy to and wanting to have or find work environments that were aligned, right? Aligned to me
Yeah.
and how I wanted to show up. And and so I think I had these ideas in my head. And so I think those early discussions with you really helped to just start to put it on practice. I mean, and just I think it was just yesterday, I was telling my husband about um um one of the practices we did where you have like, you kind of draw the line in the middle and
The
you
two
put your
columns.
the two columns. But it was really helpful to start to put um, to put words to, I think, the feelings that I had, or the things that I wanted. Yeah, I think that was the other thing that we talked about earlier. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know how to say what I want. Like I don't know what I want. Like to articulate
Your
what I want. I
needs.
knew what I didn't want, and to articulate what my needs were and what that looked like. I think working with you helped to like make that tangible, like
Mm.
legible, like, put like actual words to these things that I could then be
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. Um, and to, again, this like, owning yourself, like being okay with that. So I remember, like some conversations with my now employer. Um, in the beginning, it was like trying to explore, is this a good fit? Is it not a good fit? And and I think we made a list of like, well, these are kind of things that I want to see. And it's like, well, gosh, is this too much to ask for? Not even financially, but like, is this too much to ask for this type of flexibility or to like, and
Mm.
I think some calls with you was just like, well, if that's what you want, if that's what your picture of, a healthy
Alignment
working
and
balanced
fulfillment.
alignment is,
Yeah.
like that's okay. Like if that's what works for me, like that's okay. And
Mm.
I can hold on to that and then see where collaborations for work align with those types, with those
Yeah.
and where they don't, and make those decisions from there. And so um yeah, it's been an amazing process. I mean, I remember the
Mm.
first when actually during the intensive training, I was trying to decide, or was it right after? No, I think it was during. I had an offer to do a dance, a private
Yes, it was
dance,
during.
a
Yeah, it was
private,
during.
yeah, a
Hmm.
private Zoka dance fitness event. And I had never done that
But you are
before.
also
And
a
I was like,
dancer and
I'm also dance,
and it's
dance
basically like a
fitness
Zumba
instructor.
style kind
Yeah,
of workout.
dance
Yes.
fitness.
Dance
Yeah.
fitness. Yeah.
And I remember I was like struggling to like basically come up with a rate that I felt like,
Mm.
because my friends were like, no, you gotta charge, like, this amount. And I was like, no, 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 that's way too high, guys. And I remember we did all again,
We
like in this process
the
of like
energy
wanting to
testing.
align,
Yeah.
make sure my
Yeah.
decisions, yeah, and we did that
Yeah.
energy testing activity. And man, that blew me out of the water. I could not
Interesting.
believe how clear it was,
Yeah.
like to know that there's like, I think that also helps to like to affirm. So even now where even if I don't know for sure,
Hmm.
to I feel affirmed in knowing that somewhere in me there is a part of me that
That
knows
knows.
for
Yes.
sure what I want or what the path is, and
Yes.
I can trust that I'll get the message somehow. But that,
Mm.
yeah, we did that energy test, and I was really like blew my mind how it was so like yes, no, yes. And then we got to like a number that
Hmm.
also felt good for me because I was like, gosh, there's no way I can charge more than
Yeah.
$10 for this event. It's like,
Hmm.
and to get to a place that also was like, oh, that does feel good. That does feel um so
Yeah.
I think that particular exercise, and then these other exercises that we did together of like learning to define for myself
Hmm.
what I want and
Yeah.
what I need, and to own that and be like, yeah,
Yeah.
And it's okay if that's different, because I think I struggled with like, well, gosh, this is different from what even my husband wants, or what my husband wants of me, or what my parents are, what, or what they think, what other
Mm,
people think. And it's like all of those things can exist for them, but I can have
yes.
my own definition, and I can hold on to that. And then just like what's been amazing is like seeing all of these things like actually come to fruition. Like, oh shit. Like I
I
can tell the
got it.
team.
They said yes.
Yeah. I'm like, oh shit, like this is actually working. Like you can actually get the things you ask for or that you want. And like so yeah, it's been an amazing, really fascinating journey with myself. And yeah, and it doesn't mean like everything is perfect. I don't even
Yeah.
know what perfect looks like, but to see these like,
Yeah.
to like be aware of how things that and also, I've been wanting to be more intentional. And so like seeing these things of like, yeah, this is an intention that I wanted to like work in a healthy team environment
Mm.
that values kindness and respect, and it's like, oh, that is possible. Oh, I can, charge this amount for a private event. And it's like, oh, there is interest in that. Um, and
Well,
yeah,
let me ask you this, because what you're saying, right, really, this exploration that you've had of self over the last few months and years, right, of identifying, clarifying what it is that you want, what's worth, all of those things. I want to go back to what we said earlier. You come from a highly educated background, right? So, what did you study in school? Yeah, what's your background, education background?
acad my education
Academic. Yeah,
background,
academic.
academic
You said
background.
Harvard earlier, so let's just put it out there, because I think it would be helpful for people to have some context about your educational background.
So my undergraduate degree is international relations and economics.
Hmm.
Um, and I have worked in like healthcare, disability inclusion
Hmm.
really soon after um and after undergrad. With this, I ended up stumbling into this job during undergrad, but still really enjoyed what I studied. Fast forward, and then I went back to school for my graduate degree in human development and psychology from the Harvard School of Education.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are my
So
buckets.
here's the thing I wanted to just point out, because all the stuff that we're educated in it's not an exclusive to any particular type of education. So it's not because you had a master's or you had an undergrad or where you
Yeah.
studied necessarily. But I think sometimes in society, we have very prescribed ways of
Oh, yeah.
thinking, acting, producing the results that were supposed to come out of this type of education, or living in this
Exactly.
particular culture or context or environment. This is how you're supposed to move through life in the world. And I think what you're pointing
Absolutely.
to and all these other, this is self-discovery, is actually, those are tools, they are resources, they're frames that have been given, but they're not set in stone. These are not footpaths necessarily. They're just like, here's a window. These are things that you can look through in order to identify what's the path and the journey that you want to be on. And that's why I love the quote, and I have it in every email, and I've probably had it for 20 years now, from Howard Thurman, this theologian, and a mentor to Martin Luther King, that says, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask
Mm,
what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs are more people who have come alive." Right.
I love that.
And you said earlier that, yeah, when things are easy, that now this new the work that you're doing is easy. You knew what made you come alive. You had a list. You could say, this is what I want and need in the kind of professional experience. This is what I want and need in order to take care of my family life and my well-being. This is what I want and need in order to build community and have fun and play and movement. Like, you were able to clarify all of those things that made you come alive. And then looking for, hey, what matches up? It's like a puzzle, right? So you have all
Mm-hmm.
these puzzles, and sometimes you try to fit a piece of the puzzle that's not supposed to go there. Although I'm like, but
Nothing's
it's
happened.
blue. They're both blue. How come this doesn't fit? It's like, no, this is not the right blue puzzle. Let's find a puzzle piece. Let's find a different one that matches up to this section. So I think as you're talking, I'm just seeing, and I just want to encourage anybody that might be listening or watching this that, hey, don't get stuck on the linear. This is not supposed to be a
Yeah.
programmatic thing, even for a systems thinker, right?
No, no, absolutely.
It's like gonna split some of our knowledge of stuff from knowledge of self. Like those are separate
Yeah.
thoughts,
Yeah. I mean,
reflections.
again, like if my, 25-year-old self, but again,
Yeah.
like, I wasn't ready. I think, um, yeah, I think it's especially, coming, I was an immigrant to the US. Education is what really moved my family, my parents, their generation,
Mm-hmm.
like my parents individually in particular, out of poverty in Zambia. And so, education was very much a real, like,
Yeah.
wasn't a question, like you will go through these processes, and
Mm-hmm.
and there was a path laid out, and there was like expectations, some said, some not said, and then even outside of the family, they're like expectations. Oh, so now you have a Harvard degree, you should be making X amount of money, or you should be doing this type of work with this degree.
Yeah.
And when things don't always align, and I had a period where I was like, this nothing is really
Mm.
making sense, or I'm not feeling good about what's happening.
Mm.
Um, and then you question all of this stuff, not knowing that, like, oh, these are windows, these are options, these are paths
Yeah.
to
Options. Yeah.
explore, to weave in and out of.
Yeah.
But that framing isn't one that I, you know, knew or grew up with or was even, and I think now as like a parent, like, how do I support my kids with learning, having those options early on,
Ooh.
and also wanting them to
Mm.
not worry, because I understand your parents, people want you to be
Want you to
independent, to be
excel
safe, to
and
be able to,
fulfilled. Yeah.
and to excel and be fulfilled and to stand on your own feet. And it's like, oh, yeah,
Mm.
you're gonna be a writer, or you're gonna,
Mm. So what do you,
so I
your
could
kids are, how old are your kids again?
10 and 8.
10 and 8. So what are you noticing about how you're educating or how you're talking about this with them or with your husband about how to
Um,
sow the seed, how to plant the seed?
yeah, I think we very much, I think, value educational spaces for the social interaction side of it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I'm very intentional about, at least ensuring or wanting that the immediate teachers that my kids have see them, like
Mm-hmm.
see them for their individuality, for their strengths, how they show their how they show their learning, how
Mm.
they show up, how they, like, one of my kids is he processes things a little bit slower, and so if you ask a question, you might need to give him a little minute, and then he'll share, and he can go on and on and on.
Mm.
And another one of my kids is very, he looks like he's not paying attention, but he's getting everything, and so
Mm.
it's easy to be like, oh, you're getting in trouble because you're just like all over the place, when
He's
actually, like,
distracted.
you did
Interesting.
the work and you're bored now, you've just moved on.
Mm.
So I think I value that type of thing in learning spaces, and also a lot of,
Mm.
like, exploration. We travel quite a bit as a family and try to be intentional about that, and just like being in new places together, and also just like downtime where we're not doing anything,
Yeah.
um, and trying to, like, support their what brings them joy, so whether that's
Mm.
football, whether that's, like, right now
Yeah.
my oldest is into designing clothes, so we'll go
Oh,
to the market and find some very cheap clothes, and he'll cut up the jeans and do these and do that,
okay.
and so it's like
Huh.
being able to, yeah, just
Just paying
just
attention,
let
it sounds like. Yeah, let
pay
them.
attention, observe, and just watch them.
Yeah.
It is almost like,
Yeah.
sometimes I sit on, I'm just like, it's such a privilege to watch somebody
Wow.
grow into
Mm.
themselves, and just like, and I don't know if it's similar, like, with
Mm.
coaching, of just like seeing a person's
Yeah.
evolution with
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I try and approach my kids, of just like, it's like there's also a bit of like watching and just seeing
Mm.
like, how is
Yeah.
this going to play out?
I
I
think
don't know. I
okay,
don't
okay,
know.
okay. Yeah,
I
well,
hope you'll be okay, but
I have nieces and nephews that I've observed, and I feel like I quantum leap into their life, right? Because I don't see
mm,
them every day. So sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh, you got so much taller. What? You're doing what now? Right? So there's all these, glimpses of growth and development to see a young person become more mature. But I think we're in a generation now where that's we have a lot, we're more permissive if it comes to, if that's the right
yes,
word.
there are more
Or
options. Yeah,
yeah, there are options, and we have a broader sense of, hey, we can allow some things to just run their
possibility.
course and see where it goes. Where I think maybe your parents the same, but my parents' generation was more like, no, you need more certainty. You gotta
Yeah,
lock it down
you
right
got to be
now.
a doctor
Don't
or lawyer. Yeah.
choose. And so I think now we can allow a little bit to ease, maybe detach a little bit more, which lets people grow and learn. And I think when it comes to like tying this into like the connection with other people, I think you said so well that it's really a matter of knowing oneself,
Gosh.
right? Knowing oneself, what you want to offer, what you want to contribute, how and who and when to offer that. And then the idea of, if people are not ready to receive it, or not, this is not the fit, this is not in alignment, that's also, that's their journey. I'm not the puzzle piece that they need right now, or
Yeah,
ever. Maybe, oh, this is not the right box. I'm in the wrong puzzle. Oh my
I'm in
gosh,
the wrong.
right? It's the wrong puzzle. I
I'm
have
in the
something.
wrong
Oh, you're
puzzle
working on
box.
something else. Oops, Um, so not taking
I
it so
like that.
seriously, and not taking it, it's not deep. You get to live your life too, and you get to do it the same way. And actually I'm learning that it actually can interrupt someone's evolution and development to insert myself when I
Oh,
see like,
interesting.
oh, I want to help, I want to work, I want to do. And if that person is not ready, it can create, they call it
Mm,
learning failure, right? Because now all of a sudden all that energy and all that desire is now focused on resisting the things that you
ah,
don't want, the resist. Oh, Valerie, no, not that way. No, not like that. That's not what I said. There, all that energy and focus is just now diverted, or and now used, used for something that they don't want,
mm,
versus, okay, no, redirect, do what you need. So I have to remind myself of that a lot when I'm finding
mm.
that, oh, there's some resistance here. Okay, it's just this isn't for me, or this not for them, and it's not, or now it's not for them now. So, ah, whew, thank you.
Oh, it
This
is
was
a journey.
great.
Yeah,
It is a journey.
it
Any
is.
final thoughts or words before we wrap up our time together in this episode?
Um, yeah, I'm feeling, I always love our time together, and I feel like I leave feeling very fulfilled,
Yeah.
and who knows, tomorrow might be like, oh my gosh, I might be like,
Why did I
everything,
say that?
everything sucks. Why did I say all that? Everything sucks. I'm useless. I don't have anything of value to offer. Um,
No.
but for now I feel wonderful. And no, it's always
Yeah.
yeah, it's always very, and again, there's like a lightness that I don't know
Mhm.
how
Yeah, it's
to what
fun.
other word
We
to
have
use to
fun
describe it.
conversations.
They're fun conversations, but they're also deeply meaningful,
Yes.
and I'm always, it's this, I think if things root back to me of when we first met about like inner knowing and inner connection. And I think it's also wonderful to have, a friend and a coach who is
Yeah.
um also intentional about to like also just like be able to talk about this type of stuff with
Hmm.
at a friend level, and then outside of even the coaching level,
Yeah.
just like at a friend level, um is um is really, yeah, it's beautiful, it's
Yeah.
really nice, yeah,
Thank you.
so
I received that.
nice.
I've so enjoyed getting to know you, continuing to get to know. I'm so glad we're friends. Really, just so grateful that we became friends. Like you said, like I said, you have you created a really interesting, and just interesting is not the right word, but really enjoyable and full holistic experience for me in Kenya. In fact, I have to tell you this small little anecdote. So, my uncle, who may or may not listen to this podcast, but he'll get a special mention if he does. He said for months he and I hadn't talked, and he said, "Oh, I've been wanting to ask you about your trip to Kenya." So like months later, after the trip, right? Like let's say it's been 8 months or something, and he's like, "Oh, I've been wanting to ask you about this trip, and your mom told me that you went, and I can't wait to hear all about it." And I said, "Well, I went because I was taking a course." Nonviolent communication, blah, blah, blah. And there were like 70 different people from 20 odd different countries, mostly African countries and whatever. And he was like, oh, this was a work thing. Oh, okay, never mind. I was like, no, it wasn't a work thing. Yes, it builds on my work and my expertise or whatever, but no. And he's like, well, I was really wanting to know about the people and if you got around and got to see. And I was just like, actually, yes, I did. And I could see the contrast of some of the people in the course that didn't have the experience, either because they were not local or because they just didn't connect with somebody that was local. And it was, as I was reflecting, I'm like, oh my gosh, Alice, if it weren't for
Interesting.
you, like I would not have
You and
seen
your uncle would have had nothing to say.
nothing to talk about. Would have been like, it's a work trip. I went for a class, but I got to eat, Kenyan food. I got even some hot sauce to bring back home with me. I saw
That's
the
right.
culture of plants, right? The fact that you had roadside
Yeah,
plants of people selling plants
that's
in the
true.
roadside. I'm like, what kind of country is this?
It's true.
Just
It's
so
true.
grateful for you have taken that time and invested, right, your energy and just helping me see the international relations that you built were so
It's
meaningful
coming
to
in.
me.
It's coming in.
It's
It's
all
coming
coming
in.
in. See, there's that
It's
window.
all coming. There we go.
So
There we go.
so grateful for that, and of course all the things that we've talked about too, the depth of the conversations that we've had. But yeah, I think that was really an opportunity, very intentional opportunities for us to not only connect, but even in doing all these activities, we were having really profound conversations. And so
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
the other thing, not to take for granted that these are only supposed to happen in certain contexts. Like, no, we can be
Exactly.
deep and fun anywhere
All at the same time.
at the same time with the same person. What? So
Yeah.
good. Thank you for for saying yes to being a part of this podcast and have this is your first podcasting experience. So grateful. Now you can check it off your bucket list if there was a bucket list for
Exactly.
you. Thank you, Alice. Such a joy. And I can't, I'm looking forward to many more years, hopefully, of friendship or however long we're supposed to
Absolutely.
be friends and connect, that
Yeah.
it continues to provide us, with the validation, with the superpower, with the self-knowledge that we've been
Yeah.
seeking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks so much,
Yes.
Valerie.
Of
And
course. For
yeah,
those of you who tuned
until
in,
next time.
till next time, yes, we'll see each other definitely in our coaching group. For those that tuned into this episode, thank you all so much for being with us. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody. Thanks for joining me on this episode of The Circle of Hope. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and share with someone in your circle. And if you're curious about the upcoming book, visit valeriehope.com for updates and extras. Until then, stay connected.